Hi guys, it's Kenny and you're watching Ugly Tent. So on this episode we're going to do a basic kit. Nothing too glamorous there, just your basic essentials. I probably could have reduced it a little more, but I know what it takes to make myself comfortable. So I wanted to show you a basic kit and stay comfortable at the same time. But you're still only looking, I may have, with food and water, 25 pounds. So it's not bad. So thanks for coming along. Hope you enjoy the video. So before we go any farther, I wanted to give you a loadout, show you what I've got in here. Now, let's not forget what you're capable of wearing. You don't have to pack in your pack because you're wearing it. You got your survival bracelet. I've got my Wazoo. This is Wazoo Survival Whetstone. This is their Viking Whetstone. It's great for sharpening your blade on the go. That way you don't have to carry a whetstone because you're wearing one. Of course, I'm wearing my Rose Hollow Forge knife with a ferro rod and the sheath I made. Dump pouch. I love dump pouches. And like any good hobbit, I got a handkerchief in my pocket. So, these are just small things you're able to carry. And if you want to wear more or carry more on your person, go for it. And don't forget your clothes are your number one source of shelter. That's something to remember. So, dress appropriately for the weather. So, on the outside of my pack, I have a lot of stuff on here because this is only a 35-liter pack. And I've been asked quite often, can you get everything you need for an overnighter in a 35-liter pack? Here you go. Yes, you can. This is my sleeping bag underneath, my One Tiger sleeping bag. Actually, it's a quilt. I'll talk about that later. You got your hatchet. This is just a pouch full of cordage, bank line cordage. My heavy cover canteen cup and lid. My trusty 70-30 wool blanket. I love this thing because it's wool, but it's not too hot. It's just right. It's great for a outer garment. That's what I use a lot of times when I don't bring a heavy jacket. I just wrap this around me and use one of those little quilt pins. It's not a blanket pin, it's a quilt pin. They're smaller. It's the same thing. It's just easier to carry around and not as much. And they're not as expensive either. Then I've got my VanQuest, my first aid kit here, and this doubles as my hygiene and batteries and a few other things for lights in there. So normally this is just first aid, but since I'm down to a minimal pack, this has got everything else in it. Got my lighter, got my gloves, got my cook stuff for the coffee because I love the nostalgia of it. In this pouch, got my headlamp, batteries, and some more off spray. It's tick season. Tourniquet on this outside here. I think that's it for the outside. Oh, and also on my straps, I keep on here an old headlamp that I no longer use. That's like 70 lumens or something like that. It's not a very bright one, but as technology gets better and you upgrade your lights and you think, what am I going to do with this old headlight? Fix it to Somali straps. And you've always got the little headlight. This works great for when you're hiking in the dark. You just turn it on and wherever you're walking, it shines a light. And then on the other side, if you're like me, you have tons of knives. This is a good place to put them. Put one there and you've always got a knife, you've always got a light. So let's open this up and I'll show you what else is inside the pack. So I'm taking everything off and I've laid it down. I'll show you it all laid out. Let's open this up. And inside, I've got food bag, clothing bag. This is something I wanted to talk about too. This is the Hyperlight mountain gear. It's very lightweight stuff. I love combining the new technology with the old Bushcraft stuff. So even though I like Bushcraft and survival, why wouldn't I use the latest and greatest stuff? You know, the ultralight stuff. Ultralight hunting and ultralight backpacking has a lot of really good stuff to offer bushcrafters. So if you haven't checked some of the stuff out, do so. Pillow, and I'm still using a crappy pillow. And this is a Climate lightweight 30-inch pad. The reason I like this is because it's a 30-inch wide pad. I will warn you, this has a R factor of 1.6. That is not much. This will freeze you to death in the winter. Do not use this in the winter. Use something insulated. Lastly is the new One Tigris or Black Orca Bushcraft Bungalow. This is an ultralight tarp tent. So your borderline here, this is bushcraft slash survival slash backpacking. This isn't a good long-term tent. This is just something, if you're on the move and you need a lightweight tent, a lightweight tarp. Now this has, you have to use trekking poles with this, or cut some limbs. I'm going to take some limbs and cut them out and use it. Then I got my kneeling pad that I always keep in here. That lives in here. Stays in this backpack. It lives here. Coffee. Got some wipes and some coffee. And I almost forgot side pouches. Some of my side pouches. I've got compass and a multi-tool and a spork. And in this side pouch where I keep my concealed carry. But that is basically all you need for an overnighter. But now remember, whatever you take for overnight is the same thing you're going to need for a week. The only thing different is your food and your water. Okay, so if you watch my channel, you know what this is. This is the old camp that I come back to occasionally, and this is the debris hut that I did 4 months ago. If you haven't seen that video, check that one out. It's been a really good one. I'm going to deconstruct this. It's done pretty well. It was meant to be a temporary shelter, but as you can see, for 4 months of rain and wind and all kinds of nasty weather, it's held up pretty good. So we're going to deconstruct this, make a new camp here. And you can see that jute twine is already starting to break down. That's one of the reasons I like using it, is because it's biodegradable. And I will be packing this out. I know you guys have seen me do this before. Use a stick for a broom. This comes from the old Bushcraft book I bought when I first started doing YouTube. I think it was Harry Graves, maybe? Anyway, I'll put a picture up of the book. There was a lot of neat little tricks in there, and this is one of them I learned a long time ago. But it's always good to revisit this stuff. I use it all the time, I just don't always show it on video. Okay, so let's talk about something else that's going to come up. People are going to ask, why didn't you use the leaves for your bed? Or to stuff them in a garbage bag or a 50-gallon drum liner to make your bed? I've done that. I'm over that. If I had to do it to survive, to keep up off the ground, to keep myself warm, I would and I could, but I don't like to camp that way. I like to stay comfortable. And when I can carry a mat in my pack, my go bag or my Bushcraft pack, an inflatable mat that gives me insulation and cushioning, and is a lot less time and effort and weighs 10 ounces, Why wouldn't I? The other thing is, now that I've uncovered all the roots and sticks and stuff, because that's what I don't want to do. I don't want to sleep on all that junk. So now I know where everything's at, where the roots are, if there's any, where it's flat, where it's wet. I got a little bit of a mud over here. So now I'm going to put down some fresh leaves that don't have any acorns or limbs or sticks or anything in them. I'm going to put some leaves down and make me a little mat here to put my tent on top of, my Bushcraft bungalow. So stick with me for that. So here's the setup. Obviously I'm going to have to move my fire back to keep from burning my tarp. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scoot these rocks back a little bit, make a longer bed for my fire. The squirrels are going crazy up there. They've been playing all day. Okay, so I got my fire moved out a little ways from my camp. Now from the awning here, it's about a step. From my actual tent, it's about 2 steps. So as long as I keep the fire under control, I don't have to worry about burning my tent. The other thing to keep in mind is this is we're in spring, getting into summer, forest fire season. So remember the rule of 3. Try to keep your fire no more than 3 feet wide, 3 feet tall, and clear 3 feet around it, or try to. I got to clear some more around it before I build a fire. Right now I want to build a little barrier right here. I want to build a little wall for a windbreak, because this is the west. This is where my wind comes from. So I got my back to the wind. And if I put a little fence here, that'll help keep the wind from coming around me, and I can enjoy my fire more. And plus, part of solo camping and survival, bushcrafting, wild camping, whatever you want to call it, part of that is the psychology of it. So if I've got a barrier here, whether it really does anything or not, it might help me sleep. You know it's going to keep small varmints out, not the big ones. But I can improve on this camp as I go. If I come out here another night, I'll have one wall built, I can build the other. And I've talked about that before. Part of survival is, the biggest part of survival is your attitude, is the mentality of it. So we're doing good. We're looking good. It's getting comfortable. Very minimal effort, very minimal gear. I like it. Okay, so there you go. There's the wall. It's kind of a fence more than a windbreak, but I could have used the leftover plastic I took from the debris hut. That'd have been too easy. I wanted to do something different, something that looked cool, something that looked different and was different than the stacking the logs on top of each other. But I thought this was pretty cool. It's got a different kind of design. It didn't turn out like I thought it would in my mind. I've done some work. I'm ready to eat. Let's get a fire going. Okay, so you know the old jute twine that was on the shelter? I'll take it, make a ball. We're going to use a lighter. We got our raft here. So we got our dry wood there to keep a flame up off the ground. If you ever watched the old MCQ Bushcraft, he always built a raft. I thought it was cool. So we're going to get that ready and get our smalls ready. Once those flames get higher than your fuel source, you can add more. So one of the things I wanted to talk to you about was this quilt. This is a One Tigress underquilt for a hammock. I almost said tarp. For a hammock. The great thing about this quilt, for one, it's a rectangle and it's not in the shape of a hammock. It's not a banana shape. And they make all kinds of different ones. Even One Tigress makes the ones that are single and double, and they have the hammock shape to them. But this is just a rectangled quilt, and it is great for a sleeping bag or a sleeping blanket, so to speak, even when you're not using it as an underquilt. So you know how I love multi-purpose items, and that's what this is. This is a multi-purpose item. So we're going to use it tonight as our sleeping bag rather than bring a sleeping bag. And this is rated for about 40 degrees. With my wool blanket, it'll be plenty. You know, it's supposed to get down to probably high 40s, mid 40s. So I probably won't need the wool blanket, but I got it just in case. So I had to let the fire die down. It was way too hot inside the tent. Tonight we're going to have Mountain House stroganoff with beef noodles. Gotta stay hydrated. Still hot. That's good. Guys, I think I'm gonna call it a night. Got my belly full and then some. I think that Mountain House, it says serves one, but man, that's a big serving. It may serve two. Anyway, I'm gonna stay the whole thing. So I'm ready for bed. I'm gonna hit the sack and see you guys in the morning. This is the stuff you want to use when you're looking for cordage or bird's nest. This is exactly what you want. I found this last night when I was gathering smalls. I thought, man, that'd be a great way to show a bird's nest. So when you break the stick, see how it peels? That's how you know you got good material for a bird's nest. And that outer bark is not what we're wanting. It's that the bark in, it's the fibers in between. And that's how you make cordage or bird's nest. Look at that. That's awesome. Good stuff. See how it just peels right off? You probably already know this, but I don't want to assume anything. Some people have never seen this before. So what I'm doing now is I'm preparing sticks to make a little stove, because I don't want to build a big fire. So I'm gonna build a fire underneath. So all you do now is just feed it as much as you need, and you don't have a big fire to worry about. And the idea behind this is the 3 steaks are green, so they're not going to burn as quickly. I'm sure eventually they would, but keeps it up and gives it a pedestal, and now you can heat your water for coffee without building a big fire. Our water's coming to a boil, and we're going to do another Mountain House scrambled eggs and bacon. And as you can see, it burnt just long enough. I lost the middle post, and that one is about to go. But the green wood lasted just long enough for me to get my water boiled. Sun's coming out. It's time to switch hats. Oh yeah. So this setup did pretty good. It does have a lot of condensation in it, but that's normal for an ultralight shelter. They do get a lot of condensation. You just can't beat their eggs and bacon. I love the Mountain House. I'll let you know that. Well, the coffee's almost gone, so that means it's time to break camp and head home. Thanks for watching another episode of Ugly 10. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you next time.